Joining us right now on the Harbor One Hotline after 4 days of his latest darkness retreat, it is the great Matt Light, former New England Patriot. Matt, good morning.
Hey, good morning, sir.
Did you get any kind of an answer during your darkness retreat about whether or not you're going to return to the NFL or just spend every day hunting going forward?
Yeah, wow. It was a wild experience. You know, I had a great time in there. I didn't want to leave, to be honest with you. It's inviting. It's like being back in the womb.
I mean, if you're Aaron Rodgers, would it take you this long to make a decision? I mean, you're either going to play for the Packers or not. I mean, it seems like the guy is holding an entire organization up here.
By the way, can we just be done with, like, the theatrics? I mean, how hard is this? I mean, isn't football a game where you run into people, like you kind of celebrate violence a little bit, or at least we used to, and you're just out there to make plays and be with the boys and do the thing that you love doing? Like, why in the world are we talking about a dark room and a guy that can't make a decision?
I mean... There's probably I said this before we were talking about him. There may be he's in the top 3 of my professional athlete douche list, but there may be no bigger douche in the NFL than Aaron Rodgers.
He learned from Brett Favre.
You know, by the way, I can think back to the first time I met him. I think it was the ACM Awards out in Vegas. You know, big country night, right? And I guess I never really thought of him as like a country music guy. I don't know why. I mean, I guess he kind of has the look, right? But I remember he was kind of awkward and by himself, and I don't think much has changed. I think he's awkward and by himself in most areas of life.
That's why he's on the ayahuasca.
Yeah, except for Pat McAfee and A.J. Hawk. I feel like those are the only 2 people in his circle.
I think it's the California effect, right? I mean, what the heck?
Yeah.
These people are always searching for something.
Yeah, they're different.
Yeah, it is. Well, listen, can you, I know you listen to the show, so you hear it from time to time on this program, maybe more than you should, but this past season over, can you weigh in a little bit where you stand currently on Mac Jones? We're talking yesterday or the day before about Devin McCourty and Devin McCourty saying he's the future and sky's the limit. And then, we have to hear from Wiggy, who wants to be done with him. Where are you currently on Mac Jones?
Yeah, I think it's a product of what happens with young kids coming through the system today. And what I mean by that is that, we all know that these athletes, it doesn't matter across the board, all these athletes are treated a lot different today than we were. And so it's hard for me personally, it's hard for a guy like Wiggy or anybody that played during our era to really relate to how these guys approach the game, their thought process. And I guess I would just say in a lot of ways, they're very fragile, right? Not all the players, but when you have a quarterback, you need that position demands looking at the game and interacting with the people around you in a very specific way. We were fortunate, man. We had, 2 decades of Tom Brady and what he brought to the table. But look, it wasn't just his skill sets, throwing the ball, decision-making. It was how he communicated and interacted with the guys around him. He's a true leader. True leader. You may not like some of the things about Tom Brady. Everybody has their opinion, right? But I think Mac Jones, what he really needs the most is he needs to be able to look in the mirror and say, I don't need handlers. I don't need all these people around me. I just got to show up, lead by example, and bust my ass because he's got talent. We know that. It's those other qualities that he's lacking a little bit.
Matt, when you look at some of those things, I think, and a lot of it is earn your stripes before you start waving guys off, jumping on people, getting in their ass, that type of thing. And I always talked about like guys like Willie Mack for us in that locker room, a guy that earned the stripes. You knew where he stood. And I just feel like nowadays these athletes, it's all about they don't want to earn their stripes, and they're not afraid to just like, basically tell you to shut up and go F yourself based on the way they carry themselves.
No, and listen, Wiggy, that's a great point, and it really speaks to kind of that culture, right? Like when we grew up, we had to earn those stripes. I mean, there wasn't an option, right? I mean, and you talk about Willie McGinnis. I will never forget hearing him with the classic line after practice, walking into the showers. You knew where he stood, and you knew which shower he had, because if you were in the first shower on the right when you walked in, you'd hear, "Shower check, little homie." And then here's Willie Mack standing right next to you. And I remember, I think I was in that shower, and I was like, "Oh my God, am I going to get killed?" Like, gee, I didn't know that there was assigned showers. This is crazy. Could you imagine that happening today? No, man. There's just none of that stuff, right? And it does come down to respect in a lot of ways, right? Like, do these guys walk in a locker room today when they get drafted and feel like they owe the people around them that level of respect? I don't think they do. Not the way we used to.
Matt, does the addition of Billy O'Brien maybe set him straight, set his priorities right, and maybe that's the key to the fan base, the media, the coaches seeing what Matt can actually do?
Hey, listen, I think it's another great point. Look, Billy O, if people were to say, hey, what are the qualities that he brings to the table in the biggest amount, right? Like, what does he do the best? And it's discipline. I mean, Billy O is an in-your-face kind of guy. And not just to be in your face. I mean, there's some coaches that are red-faced and always yelling and whatever. You kind of ignore that after the first week, right? Billy O is going to treat you with respect, but he's going to demand that you follow the system. And that's really what all these organizations need today. We got to get back to a very disciplined approach. I mean, my goodness, I lost my cell phone for 2 weeks because it went off in a meeting. I mean, they could probably be on their phone in meetings today and nothing happens.
Right.
You're probably right about that.
Shower check, homie.
How much, Matt? Because I'm accused of, for a while I was alone on Mack Island, and now Curtis has joined me, and so has Devin McCourty. But I was accused of being an apologist. How much of his struggles last season do you attribute to the issue when it comes to the offensive line?
Well, it plays into it to a great degree, right? I mean, you look how frustrating it is to watch some of these quarterbacks that are so talented, right? You know, even Tommy at times, you know, people question that line down there, you know, in the past 3 years. I mean, and he had a pretty good offensive line, right? But it makes things very difficult for quarterbacks, and for good quarterbacks, it creates a high level of frustration, right? I mean, they want to do it right every time. Just give me the chance to do it. But again, it's the leadership qualities that go above and beyond that and say, you know what? It's not going to do me any good to create a rift between my teammates and my coaches, or to publicly, you know, have these displays of frustration. It never has done anybody any good. And those are the things that you have to learn as a player, and learn them pretty quick.
Matt, I love your insight in the locker room, and, you know, that Willie story is an all-timer. So my question for you is, this season ended with the Boston Herald having a story where there were countless people off the record discussing the dysfunction within the walls of Gillette Stadium this past season. Karen Grecian of the Herald, as you know, was even said to others that she was shocked at the number of people that were willing to talk to her about just how bad last year was. What needs to happen to fix that this year? What's the first couple things that need to be done to ensure that next year goes better than this one?
Well, look, I think part of that, Curtis, is, you know, you got to bring in the people that are going to toe the line, right? Like, if you're bringing in, like, questionable, you know, character type people, if you're taking a chance on people like Bill's done in the past that he thinks he can mold. I mean, it's really difficult to mold players. You know, look at the guys that came in when we were there, Wig. You know, we had guys that people were like, oh, Corey Dillon, way too much baggage. Oh, you know, so-and-so and so-and-so. You know, you're never going to get them to be able to play. And the Mosses of the world, or whoever it may be, right? He took chances on them, but the system was different. Again, go back to the discipline, go back to the accountability, go back to if you make a mistake, you're gone, right? I mean, you're late to a meeting and you're a running back and you're gone. You never see the field again. Those things, while some are extreme in ways, right, set the table so that every guy in that locker room understands what the expectation is and what is at risk. And it's something that has been universally done in every great industry, every great business. Discipline, discipline, discipline. So that's what they got to get back to. That's what they have to demand. And the players, look, we didn't have a choice. I mean, it wasn't like we didn't have guys that were selfish or, guys that, really didn't put the team first. I mean, we had all those kind of guys, but they didn't have room. There was no wiggle room for them to explore those avenues. And that's what we need right now is to block those off, get back to just doing football.
And that's sorry, Curtis, but that's the real challenge for Bill Belichick is you're suggesting he can't coach. The advantage that he had as a coach, he no longer has with this type of player.
And by the way, Greg, we've talked about this in the past, right? I said years and years ago that the thing that hurt Bill the most was this CBA that unfortunately I was a part of. But in 2011, we signed a CBA that radically changed how football is played. And I said this on air with you that it took away one of Bill's biggest assets, one of the biggest things that he used from a leverage standpoint, because Bill could practice us and he could push us to do more than we ever thought we were capable of and that anybody else had ever gotten out of the players. Well, you can't do that anymore. So now it literally is just classroom and talking about it. And then you also marry that with the fact that these kids come in to, Wiggy, you said it, right, with that chip on their shoulder, not feeling that they have to respect. He has to fight battles on every front, and it's not been easy, and it clearly hasn't been a simple transition.
Matt, one of the things that we've been talking about, and I think you're the perfect person to ask this question, we're talking about the Bruins and how they could be having a record-setting season and all the pressure that comes with that. Obviously, you were a part of that 07 team and the regular season of not losing a football game and then going into the playoffs. What type of pressure is that like for a player to know that the expectations are so high because of what you're doing and then knowing that you have to win it all in order to really accomplish the true goal of what everybody's expectations are of you as a team?
You know what, man? When I hear that and I think back on that mentality, the first thing that comes to mind is that's the best position you could ever be in. Literally. I don't know that was my mindset at the time. I think what I kept telling myself was just stay focused. Do the things you've been doing to get that have gotten us to where we are. Focus on what you can do to be a better player, that spend more time in the film room. And we talked about this as an organization, right? Like, hey, all the pressure's on us. Everybody's gunning for us. We're going to get the best game from the worst teams, and we're going to get the greatest games maybe of all time from the really good ones. But what better position for a competitor to be in? These guys have an opportunity to do something that people would give up a lot to be a part of. So that's my feeling on it. Great players rise. We always talk about it. Look at the Super Bowl, right? Travis Kelce, they're going to throw the ball to him. They're going to focus on him, and nobody can stop him because greatness comes at great times.
And Matt, you talked about the accountability that's lacking. I think back to the way in which Bill used to operate with you guys, or even Welker in the divisional playoff game against the Jets, where he benched him for a series for the Rex Ryan foot jokes. And then this past season, you have Kendrick Bourne publicly critiquing the game plan, and he plays the next week without issue. It just seems like he really can't do what he used to do.
Yeah, listen, great examples. And by the way, I will never forget being in the hot tub before practice, and Welker was like, hey, man, I'm going to drop this line. And I'm like, and he says it, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be epic. And, and then he did it. He sent it, that was a great moment. But look, you're exactly right. And look, if I had one thing that I would say to Bill, I'd say, hey man, he takes meticulous notes, right? Meticulous notes. Go back to your notes during the 04, 05, 06, as we were discovering who we were as an organization here in New England, as his game planning and all the hard work that he puts into it was really starting to show itself for the geniusness that it was, right? And that it is. Go back to those moments and look at those notes and take heed of what you knew then that you need to know better now.
You have an event coming up, which I know you want to talk about, Matt, and it's happening. Is it happening on April Fool's Day?
We're actually going to get there a little ahead of time.
Okay.
It is our Fool's Night Out. We're going to be there Wednesday, the 29th of March, at the end of this beautiful month we have here. And we are actually at a brand new venue. We'll be at the Encore at Memoir. It's going to be a phenomenal night. So if you want to laugh, and if you've been there, grab some friends too. We've got some seats still available. You can go to mattlight72.com. This has been a great event, Greg. I mean, these comedians, yes. I mean, they're the best people on earth. And here in New England, we're spoiled because, this is like the home of comics, right? So Paul D'Angelo, Tom Cotter, Corey Rodriguez, one of my favorites, Ken Rogerson, Dave Russo, Christine Hurley. I mean, laughing our asses off and raising a lot of money. And I'll throw out some more little tidbits of those Willie-like moments that happened during our playing days. I may even have something on you, Wiggs. I don't know. I'll dig into the vault. So it's a great event, man.
Well, I was going to ask if when you and Welker were in the hot tub, Wiggy was sitting on a jet. It's one of his,
I have a great hot tub story with Peyton Manning. Any chance we'll see Brady at this event?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the report or not this morning, but apparently Tom Brady is considering a career in stand-up comedy, Matt.
Right, I saw that too, and I would love this. I mean, honestly, I would encourage that. I mean, and if he needs a venue to kind of open up at, and maybe do a little gambling afterwards. I mean, because he's also a big time gambler, right?
Yeah.
In life. So,
I mean, if you believe the report, he's doing it just to get Giselle back.
I'm laughing.
I mean, do you think that would work? Maybe. Who knows?
Women love humor.
They do. Yes, they do.
They say.
Yes, they do. They like a funny guy first. So I don't know.
Yeah, I can tell you as a chubby male, the only reason Mrs. Light has stuck with me is because I can make her laugh every now and then.
It's important. All right. Well, it's always great having you on. Great talking to you. I hope to see you soon. And the event, you can find information if you go to the Light Foundation website. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir. MattLight72.com. We'll look forward to some laughs and can't wait to see you guys. Maybe I'll come in studio, man. We'll do a little tour at some point down the road.
Come on in. You're allowed. Ken Laird will allow you back in now because he wouldn't allow you in before without the mask.
Love you, Ken. I love you.
Yeah. How do you really feel about Ken Laird?
Yeah, we don't like him.
Can we discuss that?
Yeah, listen, I went to the doctor's office yesterday. We're still masking up. I'm just, you shake your head. It's like, come on, man. Come on.
Ken is driving in his car right now with his mask on, shaking his head in your direction.
Time to break.
I just want to let you know. All right, Matt Light, you're the best.
All right, take care, guys. Thank you.
All right.